What's going on, everybody? This is Nick Lawson from Squad Sports. We're really excited to be supporting the Free Agent Friday series. A lot of great talent out there. Without further ado, this is the next free agent you should be signing with your sports team.
All right, we're back for another Free Agent Friday. Today I've got Kathleen Cassino with me. How's it going, Kathleen?
Great. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for joining me. I'm excited to learn more about your experience, in baseball, tennis, a little bit of everything. So let's start with where you went to school and any degrees if you received.
Sure. So for undergrad, I went to Pace University in New York City. I was actually an education major to start with. And towards the end, I switched over to human relations, which gave me the opportunity to get out and intern. And that's where I learned about the sports business. And I interned at a place called the Roberto Clemente All-Stars, which was basically a very small nonprofit that helped local baseball players in high school raise money to go to Puerto Rico and be seen by MLB scouts. After that, I switched over to Madison Square Garden Network and interned within the public relations and marketing department. And that is when they told me if I want to work in sports, I should go and get my master's degree. So I took a year off in between schooling and researched everything. At the time, sports management was not as big as it is now. So I settled with Canisius College, which was great up in Buffalo. Coming from Brooklyn, New York, I only knew the basics. I only knew the big four sports. And Canisius taught me that there is a whole lot more to the sport world. So I got to intern for indoor soccer and indoor lacrosse, college basketball, you name it. So from there, I earned an internship with Disney's Wide World of Sports in Orlando. Went down there and basically was able to take over a AA baseball team that they had just taken over in Disney. So that's where the sports plug came from.
Like, were you an athlete before, or like what was the draw to sports?
The draw to sports was pretty much in high school. I became a huge Yankees fan. And it got so bad that my friends could not talk to me on the phone unless they were watching the game, because I would just like completely stop the conversation and talk about what was going on with the game. And that is what, gave me the idea of looking into it further and seeing what, I could do with something that I love.
Is it primarily, baseball your passion, or do you like other sports as well?
I'm passionate about baseball. I am open to other sports. That is why, I did leave Major League Baseball to go to the USTA just to see other sports, within the community relations aspect.
So when you finished up college, kind of walk me through your, resume and stops along the way up till now.
Sure. So in Pace, it was the Roberto Clemente All-Stars and then Madison Square Garden Network. From there, I went to grad school and I interned. It was all basically public relations and marketing with indoor lacrosse, which was pretty cool. They were called the Buffalo Bandits, and they were owned by the Buffalo Sabres. So I also got to work with Sabres hockey as well. Up in Buffalo, that is huge.
Big time.
Worked in indoor soccer for the Buffalo Blizzard. So that was interesting because I worked for both the indoor teams at the same time, and they both played at the same arena.
Same season. Yeah.
And it was totally different. One was, backed up by a larger team, and the other one was pretty independent. So it was good to see the contrast between the two. And then after that, once I finished my master's degree, went to Disney's Wide World of Sports for almost 2 years. Got to learn a lot within the baseball side of things, minor league, because they really threw me into the trenches and said, we don't really know. This is the first time we're taking this team. I know you like baseball and you like public relations, so here you go. Here is your team.
Figure it out.
Pretty much. So that was, a great start to my career because I've taken that, like I've never taken anything on a silver platter. I've always had to work for it and always had to find a way to do the work instead of like given a playbook about it. So I think that was, a great start. And then after Disney, I got offered a director of marketing job with the MAC, which is Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. So I went back to the Northeast, to New Jersey, and was the director of marketing, which was a little bit of everything. It was college sports, so a new field for me. And it was pretty much sponsor fulfillment at the time. And I was in charge of all of the televised basketball and hockey games. So I was in the TV production truck with everybody who's been doing this for 20 years. And
Uh-oh. What do I do?
Yep. And again, it was, you need to figure it out on your own, which, I loved. And it was my job to say when we were going on air and off air. And I was pretty much in there to make sure that all of our sponsors got what they paid for. So making sure the commercials went off when they needed to, making sure that, banner ads were in there, like anything sponsor related. That's why I was in the TV truck. But, it was another great experience that, I wouldn't have really gotten to do if it wasn't for the sports industry. After that, I, was like, I want to get back into baseball. So I went over to the Newark Bears, which was an independent baseball team, which again was really different. I was the director of group sales there, but in independent baseball and minor league baseball, if it's raining, you're getting out there and you're pulling tarp.
You got to do everything. That's the good and the bad.
Everything. Everybody had their own little jobs before the games. So it didn't matter who you were going to do anything. So one of my jobs was to literally clean the elevators.
Nice.
Yeah, as the director of group sales. But again, you're doing this with everybody. And I just remember cleaning it one day, and we had Jose Lima on our team. And he just came out and he was like, Kat, what are you doing? Like, why are you cleaning these? But, again, it was a great experience. Then I had a little stint with it was pretty much, it was called Apel. And it was a little bit of sports and entertainment. And I was the business manager and just trying to get sponsors involved in different things, from the color purple to the National Lacrosse League. And then again, I had the itch of getting back into baseball. So that is when I started working with Major League Baseball and was there for 10 years.
Nice. What kind of projects did you work on with MLB?
A little bit of everything. So I started in the advertising and marketing department, but that was pretty much the umbrella to a lot of different departments within MLB at the time. So after about a year and a half, I switched over to community affairs, and I got to work on a bunch of projects. One of my favorite was working with Sharon Robinson, who is Jackie Robinson's daughter. And we worked on a educational program together called Breaking Barriers. And this is where we worked with Scholastic, and kids throughout the country needed to write an essay about a barrier that they broke in their short lives so far. So it was great, reading these amazing essays. And then we had to pick our top 9, and we went out and we had our little mini world tour. And we actually went out and visited each of the winning students. I helped Sharon prepare a assembly or just a class discussion, depending on what the teacher wanted us to do. And then I added something different to the whole thing, just to tie in with MLB. we started working more closely with the local teams. So if we had a winner in Boston, we would work with the Red Sox. And sometimes they would send us players if they could, or mascots. But no matter where we were, we always went to the game either that night, either next day, and we were able to bring the winner onto the field. And they had their own pregame ceremony, which is amazing for these kids.
That's huge. Yeah, that's cool. So you went to 9 different cities, or were some of them in the same city?
It depended on the winners. Yeah, some of them were together, some of them were in the middle of nowhere.
Nice. Well, that's a great program. So how about after MLB? Where'd you end up?
So then after MLB, I was offered a job with the USTA, which is the United States Tennis Association, working there full-time and year-round, and primarily on US Open tennis. So I was able to, see the differences between MLB and tennis and the different programs we do and what I was able to bring to the USTA. One of the main things that I was able to create with them was an employee volunteer program, which they really didn't have set up until I came, which was, great, because my job was basically to get the Queens community involved, because at the time they really thought that all proceeds from the US Open went to the city and everything was Manhattan based and nothing was here with, in Queens, which was not true at all. So it was my job to go out and pretty much tell them, hey, we are here for the local Queens community. And one of the things that helped me was bringing this employee volunteer program. One of the main things I did with that was something that I also did with MLB, which was I had called it holiday wishes. So I would work with a local school and have them pick a classroom. MLB was easier because I was able to do up to 200 kids. The USTA was much smaller, so I needed to focus on one classroom, like between 20 and 30 kids. And they basically wrote letters to Santa, and then my team fulfilled them. And as a little gift for the kids, besides getting their Santa gifts, we would invite them to the National Tennis Center, and they would meet Santa and get their gifts and have a little pizza party.
Oh, nice. When you are out looking now, what type of position is, the ideal role for you?
I would love to stay within the sports industry or even entertainment industry to continue community outreach. My main thing is to be able to give back within sports and entertainment, which I have done for over 20 years. So, ideally I'd like to stay within that realm. Now I'm also looking at diversity and inclusion, which is huge as well, social justice, social impact. So those along those sides.
Well, and a lot of teams are, if they haven't already, are creating those positions too. So you'll see a bunch of those, I'm sure, pop up as well, which is it's about time. So, what would you say is your biggest asset that you'll bring to a new position?
I think that would be, my ability to build relationships. I was always, able to work with different departments, which was huge. And I think that's something that I learned working with Disney. On our first day, they basically said, go out and introduce yourself to everybody. And that helped me along the way, because if I needed help with a certain project, I knew who to go to. So I always took that with me, and MLB, that worked great. And, at MLB, it wasn't just your departments, it was the different clubs that you needed to work with, like 30 clubs. So I always had, great relationships with all of them. And then even with the USTA, I remember my first couple of weeks there, I already knew what was going on within the organization and who everybody was. And I would have people come over to me who've been there for years saying, oh, how do you know this person? And what does that person do? So building relationships, definitely, I'm very organized. hard worker, team player.
What's the area you need to work on the most, do you think?
I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist. So, you know, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
No, that's definitely definitely true. How about how would you define success?
I think the success would be, you know, working in a place that you love, in an area that you love, and it doesn't seem like work anymore.
Yeah, I like that. So I feel like I haven't worked at all in my life. I'm 41. That's just when you love what you do, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Are you open to relocation for a position, or are you looking for something in the New York City area?
Ideally, I'd like to stay in the tri-state area. I am open to remote, and, you know, traveling is not a problem, but to actually move, I'd like to, you know, stay where I am.
Yep. Look, at least you're in a spot that has probably the most opportunities anywhere in the country. So that tri-state area is pretty solid. So how about a fun personal fact about you? That's what I like to finish with, is something fun.
Fun personal fact. I'm actually staring at this map that I have on my desk, and it is pretty cool. It is this map that you scratch off all of the states that you've been to.
Okay.
And mine, like, once you scratch it off, it becomes more colorful. And my map is definitely becoming very colorful. And it's interesting, the places I have not been are like Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, that area. So that's all still brown, and the rest of the country is still red. So, you know, I love to travel. And just looking at this shows me how much I have been able to travel. And I hope to, you know, be able to one day have this map be fully colored.
So do you drive to these places, or do you typically fly when you
Fly. I mean, I had the opportunity to do most of them when I was working with MLB, because especially with
that helps?
backers.
Yeah.
So that definitely helped. Especially, you know, getting to places like Iowa.
Yeah. I've been there. I've been to Iowa. I have not. I need to get to that Northwest as well. That's the one area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was telling my wife and son. I was like, let's take a road trip to Montana. And they're like, Montana? I was like, it looks cool on pictures. So maybe in a year or two.
Yes, that's one that I did not get to yet.
No, well, Kathleen, I want to thank you for joining me today. I mean, you've got a great amount of, you know, experience, you know, in the community relations and marketing side. So, you know, I'm pretty confident you're going to be finding something here pretty soon and be back at it.
Thank you so much. I hope so. I'm, you know, ready to jump back in and to, you know, work on something that I'm passionate about and something that, you know, could drive change.